it seems. Before continuing, just pause for a moment, breathe, and feel the weight of this moment. There are periods when time flows normally, and there are rare windows in which time is running out, not to punish, but to awaken. If this video just appeared for you, it was no coincidence. He was timing. Something is coming to an end, silently, without public notice. No visible count. Capricorn, you've felt this before. That feeling that something needs to be done, even without knowing exactly what? It's not anxiety. It is feeling. When a window nears its end, the body perceives before the mind. The silence grows denser. Decisions seem more urgent. Time seems shorter. And here's the point that few people understand. Not every opportunity presents itself as an opportunity. Some present themselves as internal discomfort. You're not late, but it can't wait indefinitely either. There are things that can only be done before of a cycle coming to a close. And then, regret doesn't come in the form of immediate pain. It comes as an afterthought. I felt it, but I ignored it. 72 hours is not a threat. They are a silent warning. Because when the 17th arrives, something changes. It wasn't, inside. And what hasn't been adjusted yet? It becomes much more difficult to correct later. This is not a call to act hastily. It's a call to action. Conscience. Stay here. In the next few minutes, you will understand what needs to be done before this window closes. And why does Capricorn feel this? Calling more strongly than any other sign? Capricorns don't react when the clock strikes. He reacts when the internal cycle changes. While others notice the signs too late, you feel it sooner. In the body. In silence. In the restlessness that has no name. This happens because you were shaped to deal with time differently. Capricorn understands something that few others understand. Time is not just sequence. It is structure. You always sensed when something was coming to an end, even though everything around seemed the same. Relationships that were no longer sustainable. Paths that have lost their meaning. Habits that started to take their toll. And when that happens, something inside you says, now. Not tomorrow, not later. Now. This urgency does not stem from fear. It comes from awareness of the right moment. Those who live in alignment with cycles. You know when time stops waiting. Capricorns don't act on impulse. But when you feel that time is running out, that's because the window is actually closing. Therefore, ignoring this call is costly. Not in the form of punishment, but in the form of unnecessary delay. You've been through this before. Moments when he felt he needed to act, but he decided to wait a little longer. And then he realized that the cost was higher than he had imagined. This feeling is not guilt. It is spiritual memory. Now she returns, not to scare you, but to align you. Because Capricorn wasn't made to chase after time. It was made for respect it. And when the time calls, who ignores, learn later. In the next section, you will understand what exactly needs to be adjusted before the 17th, and why small decisions now prevent big regrets later. There is something that needs to be adjusted now. It's not something external. It's not a change that's visible to the world. It's internal. Capricorn, you know exactly what this is about. That decision that has been postponed. That limit that wasn't set. That habit that no longer sustains who you are. Becoming. None of this is new. The difference is the time. Previously, postponing was possible. Now, delaying is costly. Because when a cycle is nearing its end, what wasn't adjusted weighs twice as much, and what was ignored returns with even greater force. It's not the mistake that costs. It's repetition. You don't need to change everything. It needs correct the essentials. Perhaps this is a conversation that needs to happen. Perhaps it's a commitment that needs to be ended. Perhaps it's an internal pattern that needs to be broken. There's no need to rush the adjustment. It demands clarity. Capricorn wasn't made for impulsive decisions, but it was made for firm decisions when the time comes, and the moment has arrived. Ignoring this adjustment will not bring immediate chaos. He will bring something more subtle, a delay that could have been avoided. Therefore, this call is not dramatic. It is necessary. Do what needs to be done. Before. Before the 17th marks the closing of this window. Before regret comes in the form of, I knew it. Because when the adjustment is made at the right time, the path ahead becomes lighter. And at the next point, you will understand. What happens when this adjustment is made? And why does something start to fall into place almost immediately? When the adjustment is made at the right time, there is no explosion. Something more subtle happens, but much more powerful. Things are starting to reorganize. Not because you forced it, not because he insisted, but that's because it removed the weight that was blocking the flow. Capricorn, you've felt this before. That strange feeling of relief after making a difficult decision, as if the path ahead became clearer, even without you knowing exactly what comes next. That's alignment. When you act at the right time, time begins to cooperate. Resistance decreases. What was stuck is starting to move. It's not magic, it's about consistency. What is aligned doesn't need to fight to move forward. The right people start to show up. Confusing situations lose their impact. And that which previously required excessive effort, it starts to happen more naturally. Capricorns feel this in their bodies, in calmer breathing. Sleep improves, in a mind that stops spinning in circles. Because when you respect the cycle's timing, the cycle respects you back. And it's important to understand something here. This alignment isn't meant to make everything easier. He comes to organize what needs to stay. Some things will drift apart, others will consolidate, and you won't need to chase after any of them. The adjustments made now do not eliminate challenges. He eliminates energy waste. And at the next point, let's talk about something essential. Because you don't need to defend yourself when you're aligned. And how that completely changes the way the world responds to you. When you act at the right time, it's not just the path that gets organized, it is the protection that is activated. Capricorn, you don't realize it right now, but something begins to act. Before that, problems don't reach you. Conflicts that could escalate don't. Mistakes that could be costly are avoided. People who might slow you down simply don't get in. This is not luck, it's a consequence of alignment. Not all protection appears by saving the day afterward. Some manifest themselves by preventing it beforehand. When you respect the cycle protects you. You are no longer exposed to situations that would require self-defense, because deep down, you're no longer in the wrong place. Capricorn possesses a practical intuition. You can sense when something is about to get out of control. And when you hear that silent warning, the impact never happens. This protection does not come as an audible alert. It comes as a change of course, as a simple decision, like strategic silence. And the more you trust this process, the less you need to react afterwards. It is not weakness to avoid confronting everything. It is spiritual maturity to choose where to be. When you act at the right time, the universe doesn't need to test you again. And at the next point, let's talk about something that many people don't understand about Capricorn. Why are certain separations necessary right now? And how this is part of this critical period. There are times when stepping away isn't a loss, it is prevention. Capricorn, this is one of those moments. You may feel a growing desire to reduce contact, to reduce explanations, to create space where there was previously excess. That's not coldness. It is instinct for self-preservation. When a cycle is about to close, what doesn't belong starts to weigh more. Conversations become tiresome. Presences become draining. Promises sound empty. And here's the crucial point. Maintaining the status quo costs more than walking away. Stepping away at the right time avoids regrets later. Capricorns don't walk away on impulse. She walks away when she realizes that continuing would mean bearing consequences that aren't hers. This departure doesn't need to be announced. It happens naturally, like a door that closes silently. Some people will find this strange. Others will try to pull you back into the old rhythm, but you feel you can no longer ignore what is clear. This is a period of natural selection, not an aggressive cut, but of conscious prioritization. Those who need to walk with you, stay. Those who don't keep up with the new pace, fall by the wayside. And this avoids something important, the regret of having stayed where there was no longer any alignment. Next, we'll talk about what begins to unfold when this separation occurs, and why, after that, do certain opportunities only appear for those who had the courage to create space for themselves? When you create space, something is starting to move, not immediately, not as an automatic reply, but how real possibility. Capricorn, you were trained to carry responsibilities, expectations, burdens that weren't always theirs, but this period doesn't call for more weight. Ask clarity. By moving away from what drains you, you release energy that was trapped, and that energy begins to circulate. New ideas emerge effortlessly, decisions become simpler. The future no longer seems confusing. What was blocked cannot be opened forcefully. It opens when there is enough space to enter. You might feel it as a strange lightness, as if the weather were cooperating more, as if things were starting to fall into place, not because you forced it, but why stopped preventing. This space is not empty. It is fertile field, and only those who had the courage to let go at the right time. He is prepared to receive what comes next. Now we've reached the final point. Not the end of the process, but it's the beginning of something that can no longer be ignored. There comes a point when time stops giving warnings. He simply raisin. Capricorn, this window doesn't close with noise. It closes with apparent normality. Everything remains the same on the outside, but something can no longer be adjusted from the inside. You don't need to make any big moves right now. You don't need to change everything. No need to rush. But it needs to recognize. Acknowledge what has already become clear. Acknowledge what can no longer be ignored. Recognizing that the right time doesn't wait indefinitely. Some opportunities never come back as opportunities. They return as silent regret. What amarida you're feeling right now isn't fear. It's awareness of the moment. Something unstoppable awakens when you act, before the cycle closes, before the body gets tired, before intuition falls silent. And if you've made it this far, it wasn't out of curiosity. It was because this message needed to reach you. Before. Not tomorrow. Now. If this message resonated with you, leave a like. This strengthens this space and allows the message to reach those who also need to hear it. Subscribe to the channel to continue receiving messages on time. Not all of them are repeated. And comment, I felt. So I know who made it to the end and is paying attention to this moment. In the next video, we'll reveal what happens after that window closes. And why do some Capricorns sense change before everyone else? Pay attention. Not every warning comes twice.